From my very first run in the Anta C202 G9, I knew that it was directly comparable to exactly one shoe, the Adidas Adios Pro 4. Now, one of these two shoes stole the show today. Care to guess which?
Double, double, today's a double day. Double trouble, tomorrow will have to wait. Double, double, one double day.
Okay, big double day test today between the Adios Pro 4 and the Anta C202 G9. I'm on the way, as you can see, on the way in my car to the mechanic. I was never able to get the repairs done that I needed to in this and then get the New York State inspection that I was supposed to get in this when I initially brought it, because once I brought it, the guy checked the check engine light. I think he started the car wrong or something, and it triggered some weird, electrical communication error, and I don't know, it's never come back since then, so I'm guessing it was probably nothing, but I had to re-drive cycle my entire, 50 whatever miles on highways and through the city, and I don't even know if it's fully drive cycled yet, so there's every chance that I get to the mechanic, he scans the code, or he scans the engine, looks for what he needs to look for whether or not it's drive cycled, tells me go home, come back when it's driven more, and we're gonna find out. But if everything is all good, I will drop the car there and I will run from there, probably up a hill, Mount Hope, and from there run in the Adios Pro 4. That's the first shoe that I'll be testing today. It's gonna be a nice double day effort. That's all I got right now. I'll see you on the other side. First statement here is, obviously you all know that the lacing system has been problematic for Adidas long term in several models. This lacing system is no different. It is infuriating. The lace loop, eyelet parallel, getting that locked down correctly is a nightmare.
Double, today's a double day. Double trouble, tomorrow we'll have to wait.
So far for today, I'm kind of wishing I had a more normal shoe on. My leg still hurts, and I really didn't expect it because it was a lot better this morning. But these things you never know until you start running. And yeah, this is just not the shoe for it. It's a very forefoot dominant shoe. And I just ran up a big hill, which was dumb. Shouldn't have done that. But I'm in a hilly neighborhood, so it's not exactly easy to not all at the same time. But it's really pretty today. We're gonna have a 50-degree day today. It's not that right now, but 50 degrees in the afternoon. And then tomorrow is 60, and then it's winter again. Rochester.
Double, tomorrow we'll have to wait for a double, running double day.
So what I'm getting from the Adios Pro 4 today is that it's almost as punishing as something like the streak fly if you're running with bad form, or not with powerful form, I should say. But at those more powerful speeds, higher speeds, feels really nice. and really fast, but as soon as I slow down at all, it's just, I don't know, it's wibbly, it's unstable. There's some lockdown issues, or at least like upper comfort or fit issues. So all the stuff that plagues Adidas, really. Alright, I got my car. It has an inspection sticker on it. It's not getting the work done on it that it needs for the ball joints until next Tuesday, so I'm going to be doing this. You guys are going to have like a 3-month-long saga, or like, no, probably like a 1.5-month long saga of me trying and failing to get various stages of my car fixed. But it passed inspection, so there's nothing really wrong with it except for the ball joints, which is great. It's great news. I'm a legal New Yorker now, with a Colorado license, but don't tell anybody. The run, Adios Pro 4, as I settled into the run, like I'm talking late stage settled into the run, it was much, much better. It felt like a, rhythmic sort of carbon-plated racing shoe towards the end of the run. I felt very good in it. I felt confident, and I was getting up on the forefoot, and it probably tracks with that's when my calf pain really went away, was towards the last, like, probably 8 miles or so. And yeah, I mean, it was a really good run. It was solid effort, but low effort for the pace that I was going, and that's carbon for you. It takes a lot of the, it gives you a lot of energy. Return. And yeah, I'm looking forward to comparing this to the Anta C202 G9, because that is very similar feeling to this to my memory based on the long run that I did in it. But I remember feeling that there were no issues with the upper, that it was one of the best uppers that I've ever had on my foot for a carbon-plated racer, up there with the DV8 Nitro Elite 4. And the midsole felt, to my memory, pretty close to identical. It's hard to say, obviously, without having them back-to-back. But that's why I'm doing this test. Yeah, but the lacing system in the Adios Pro 4 is atrocious. Like, I had to stop to retie twice, and I haven't been having to do that on shoes in a very long time. Like, I've really dialed in my lacing strategy, my tension. Like, I really have figured that out. I feel like I have actually solved that issue for most shoes, so whenever one crops up these days that has like retying and lacing issues, it's just super annoying. And that's Adidas. That is Adidas. It's a quirk. It's not, I wonder if there are other quirks for other brands. Like, what's the, like, Nike with the 10mm drop? Is that their quirk? They're like, the industry has moved on from this problem, but you haven't quirk. Asics, their problem, their quirk is the bulbous heel. Like, the industry has moved on from these gigantic, ridiculous bulbous counterweights, but the Super Blast and even the Mega Blast to a smaller extent, and the Nova Blast, they all have, and the Gel Cumulus and whatever, all of them have that issue. For a while, Puma's was narrowness, but that was before my time as a runner. I'm trying to think what other brands have what other things going on. Hoka is durability. That's their quirk. It's bad. That's a dumb quirk. It's not like a quirk. It's just not making good quality products. Brooks is being extremely boring. That's a quirk. Well, what else? I think that about does it. So I will see you in this afternoon for more shoe tubing. You're looking at a 50-degree day. It is gorgeous out right now, and I'm about to go for round 2. So, without further ado, let's do. It's been crazy windy, and I've been moving really quick. So I'm already like almost 7.5 miles in, and you could hear that I'm out of breath. The G9 is simply better than the Adios Pro 4. It's in a different tier. I think it has the same foam though. We're going to talk about this a lot more when I have breathing capabilities, but weight-wise, fit-wise, geometry-wise, it's all better. I gotta clean the lens to this camera. Yeah, sorry for not a lot of comments while I was out on the run. I was just blasting along. So, 12 miles, 7:37 pace. That's another 24-mile double day in the books. Wednesday. I have sweat in my eyes. That means it's sweating season. I don't have a hat on, so it doesn't catch all the sweat. And that means that sweat into my eyes, and that doesn't feel great. So that hurts, and my leg does not hurt, and these shoes are incredible. I think a more apt comparison, now that I've had a second run in these, is actually the DV8 Nitro Elite 4. Much more competitive of a shoe, the G9, than I initially had estimated it. And I mean, I really liked it at first, but I was a little distracted because I was doing a workout with the boys from Run Club, and it was on a long run, like an over long run. It's 22 miler. So I didn't have my full shoe tube hat on at the time I first reviewed this. But yeah, going back to back with the Adios Pro 4, I think it like really reveals how much work the Adios Pro 4 needs. Now, I'm not saying that it's not a great shoe. It's like a super shoe that is accessible on the Western market that people could buy and run in and will enjoy because it is soft. But this is better. I mean, this is straight up better. It's probably the same exact foam, if I had to guess. This feels bouncier though, and I think that's due to the construction of the midsole being like a solid piece and not like having this gigantic medial cutout that really affects runners like me who pronate excessively. That's part of the problem that I had with the Evo SL. Now that's obviously also, or that's rather a full slab of foam, the Evo SL, but it still has like a chunk taken out medially. It's like there's no plate in the Evo SL, so it doesn't seem like there's a medial cutout. But along the arch, there's a big amount of foam that isn't there, even though the shoe is one slab of foam. I think you understand what I mean, but because you've all seen the Evo SL. But both shoes, though, both of the Adidas shoes that I'm mentioning right now, they both have the same medial instability. Like when I go to pronate, I'm tipping inwards. It creates slop fit in the shoe. It creates like this lateral forefoot drift where the outside of my foot moves outside of the shoe in the forefoot and like twists inside the shoe, I should say. I wasn't getting that exactly in the Adios Pro 4 today, but I was slipping inside of the shoe. I had to retie it a couple of times. It's very sloppy. And it wouldn't be such an issue if the laces were good and stayed tied and, like, I don't know, didn't suck to adjust. So this is all complaints about the Adios Pro 4. It's still a really nice ride once you get it up to speed, and it's pretty bouncy. This, for some reason, like, the G9 feels bouncier. I think it really is the amount of foam in the shoe, and, like, maybe something to do with the forefoot rocker, too. I like the forefoot rocker in this a little bit more than the Adios Pro 4. They're both pretty late stage, and they're both pretty, like, intense of rockers, but I'm getting along with this one a little bit better. Other ways, so I need to get this all out of my head before we go inside and then get run brain and reset my entire cognition to other tasks and then go back and do the rest of the review for this. So the other things that I liked about the G9 are the weight. It feels lighter on foot. It's 10 or 20 grams lighter than the Adios Pro 4. I'll go check that before we go back to the studio. And it is the same-ish material upper, but the lacing system is better. It's more easy to adjust. I I would say the outsole is at least better by a little bit, maybe by a lot. I haven't really tested this in wet enough conditions to have an opinion on the outsole yet, but it's pretty grippy. Yeah, it felt bouncier. It felt like it was more propulsive and bouncier this afternoon than the Adios Pro 4. And I really think that that's not a foam thing. I think it's a geometry thing. However, that might work. So, yeah, really enjoyed this. I would take this back to back with the DV8 for sure. I think that's going to feel faster on foot, frankly, and maybe even a little lighter. But this corners really well too, which is another strength of the DV8. And I was taking a bunch of corners this afternoon. Okay, that's all I'm going to say right now. So with that, back to the studio. And we're back in the studio with the C202 G9 from Anta and the Adios Pro 4 from Adidas. And before I get into the shoe spiel, I want to tell you something about the scale that I've been using. The batteries in the scale that I've been using for months now were wrapped in plastic. I went to see if the scale was working and turn it on to weigh these shoes, and it was not working, and it was because the batteries were wrapped in plastic, but I have not changed the batteries ever on that scale. So either somebody broke into my house and wrapped batteries in plastic, put it in the scale, did not steal anything, and then left, or they've always been wrapped in plastic and were working somehow. So that little diversion aside, if anybody could explain what just happened, that'd be cool. But on the subject of weight, I have two shoes here. The Adios Pro 4 weighs 212 grams. The Anta C202 G9 weighs 181 grams. And that was something that was very noticeable on foot, on the run. That was something that I mentioned even just in the recap mere moments ago for you. And yeah, this feels lighter on foot. Honestly, I didn't think it felt quite as light as the DV8 Nitro Elite 4, but out of curiosity, I threw both the DV8 and the Puma Fast R on the scale as well because it's nice and shiny and new with a brand new non-plastic wrapped battery. And the DV8 weighed in also at exactly 181 grams, which was pretty interesting to me. And the Puma Fast R was 186. But the Puma Fast R also has the chunkier laces on it right now, which I will swap out before my next run in that shoe. But that's not the subject of today's video. It's a comparison between these two shoes. In order to do this in a fair way, I'm going to go through the three areas that I generally go through on first run reviews, and we will start with the specs and materials. I don't have specific stack and drop for the Anta C202 G9, but for the Adios Pro 4, it's like 39.5 down to 33.5 for a 6 mil drop, as far as I could remember. I mean, it has 39 printed on the heel and bumps, and the G9 feels exactly the same stack. It's like a fully fledged, fully stacked racing shoe. The upper is actually also extremely similar from a material standpoint. Like, this is slightly different feeling. I would say maybe a little bit more plasticky and a little bit more structured on the G9, but they're both very fabric-y compared to the market at large. It's like a textile feeling material, and in the forefoot particularly, they feel near identical. The laces in the G9 are way better than the terrible laces in the Pro 4. And as for foam, I think that these two are the same exact foam. Holding them and squeezing them in hand, it feels like the Adios Pro 4 might be ever so slightly softer, but it could just be the way the foam is laid out. I'm trying to grab in the forefoot and see if there's any difference there, and it would be negligible if there is. So I do think that they're the same compound, like literally exactly the same compound, but it's possible there's a slightly different formulation of a TPEE. So that's it for the specs and materials. Let's move on to the fit. Moving on to the fit. One of these two shoes fits much better than the other shoe, and that's the G9. The upper while it's a super similar material, just the way that they put it together and assembled all the various components makes more sense from like what you would see in other shoes. The heel padding is fine. It has a nice little sock knit collar. The lacing system is normal and really easy to use. And that's really it for the fit. I would say be mindful if you are wider in the forefoot. This cuts in a bit right here, and it could rub your pinky toes a little bit. And at the outset of this run, I did have that a little bit, but it just went away as I started running. And I think I remember that the first time as well. I can't remember if I said anything about it the first time. I might have forgotten, but once I started running, that went completely away. And so it's just something to be mindful of. If you're very wide in the forefoot, you might have some issues with fit on this. So maybe go up half a size. I'm in my bigger size for this shoe. I'm in a 10, where sometimes I will wear a 9.5. That's what I have the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo in. And the Adios Pro 4, though, is a size 10 as well. And I think it's both warranted for both of these shoes for me to go to my bigger size. So on the Adios Pro 4 side, the fit is mostly fine. It's the issue that I have with the Adios Pro 4 is the lacing system. The upper is comfortable. It's a really nice upper, but the lacing system, I'm going to show you very specifically the issue that I have with it. So there is on this eyelet parallel where the lace loop exists and the laces are tucked underneath that lace loop, it's so narrow across the midfoot and so pinched that it's really hard to adjust the lacing right on that vital lace loop, where it's like if I want to change anything about the fit on this shoe after it's already on my foot or even just laced, period, I have to get my fingers, and I have smaller fingers. I'm not like a like freaky sausage finger person. It's just so hard to adjust the lacing on this shoe. Whereas with the G9, that was just simply not a problem that I encountered at all. I will mention, though, on the G9, this did loosen on my right foot over the course of the run, and it did the same on the first run that I took it on. So that's like a little bit dismaying. I think that maybe I just really need to crank the laces down. I do remember on the DV8 Nitro Elite 4, a similar thing was occurring, or like it wasn't exactly that it was loosening, but it was settling. And I just had to crank the laces on the DV8, and maybe that's just what I need to do on the Anta, and that's probably what I'll do on the next run in the Anta. And it might even be in a comparison video against the DV8. I bet that would be a good video. Um, that's really it for fit. They both fit well, besides the Pro 4's lacing issues. Onto the ride. One would think that the ride would be very similar given the sense of these two being the same foam. And why do I say that? Well, Adidas has been rumored to procure their foams from Shincell, which is a foam manufacturer. I believe Anta also gets their foam from them. And it feels in hand like the same exact foam. It feels very similar, also underfoot. It's a TPE. The marketing material for the Anta does say that the N90 is TPEE. I can't remember which model's marketing material they say that on, whether that was for the Zone 2 or for the G9, but at some point I read some marketing material from Anta, and it does say that the midsole is TPEE, and that is the case also for the Adios Pro 4. That's general knowledge from the community, although Adidas tends to be a little bit, cagey about their foams, and they don't really like to say what their foams are, probably because there are several Chinese brands that are getting the same exact foam as Adidas, and Adidas wants to remain as the image of premium quality and foam development tech, when in reality they're really not developing their foams, probably, right? I don't want to make any claims that Adidas isn't doing something if they in fact are. That all being said, they feel nearly identical underfoot, except the Anta feels bouncier. It feels like the same foam, the same softness, the same like general rubberiness to the rebound in the foam. It's a chewy texture on both of these shoes. However, the Anta manages to feel bouncier underfoot. And I really think, like I was saying in the recap, look at the midsole geometries on the bottom of the shoe. Like the Adidas is missing a giant chunk of the shoe medially. It's just so much like this whole from here, and it's already cut in a lot, even if you ignore the actual cutout. It from here all the way through, there's just a giant gaping hole of foam where the foam isn't there. And I think that really affects the performance of the shoe. Whereas this is a really, even for any carbon plated racer, this is a relatively narrow channel sole hole. The fact that the C202 G9 is lighter than the Adios Pro 4, and yet the Adios Pro 4 has to resort to like ridiculous like geometry tricks to get the weight to where it should be competitive with the current market, and yet still isn't competitive with the current market. And granted, Adidas is on a longer development cycle for their super shoes, so maybe in the Adios Pro 5 we're going to see, you know, something more competitive in the weight department. And frankly, it needs to be, or else it's just like not going to be a shoe that I'm going to test, because you can't have a next generation of super shoe be above 200 grams when you could get super shoes from China for like half the price of a normal super shoe from the West for that are competitive at 180 grams. Like, this is top shelf stuff right here. So Adidas cannot drop a shoe for the Adios Pro 5 that's heavy, right? And not saying that this is heavy, and really this doesn't feel like 212 on foot. I mean, it does. That's because that's what it weighs, and that it must be what 212 feels like, but it doesn't feel heavy on foot, obviously. It's just not like top of the line racing product anymore. And it's impressive how much bouncier the G9 feels than the Pro 4, with the fact that it really almost certainly is the same foam, and it feels like the same foam, and it's just down to geometry. I mean, even like the forefoot rocker between the two is fairly similar. I like the forefoot rocker and the Anta. I wouldn't say it's like drastically different than what's in the Pro 4. So, you know, it's a lot, and the upper textile is very similar. These are very similar shoes, but somehow one is much, much, much lighter and much bouncier underfoot and more comfortable to wear and easier to lace up than the other one. And maybe this is lower stack than 40, but if it's lower stack than 40, it manages to not feel like it at all. So maybe it's the lack of insole where the weight is coming from, because there is in fact no insole. It's just fabric sewn into the either the directly onto the foam or onto a strobel board. I'm not really sure. But yeah, there's a clear winner between the two, and I do think that the G9 could be competitive with the Deviate for me, and that's probably the next head-to-head that I have to put any carbons through. So until then, I appreciate all of your attention, and as always, stay in motion.